Love to see you guys, by the way. Thank you for letting me do this.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're here, Jason from Pensacola, and we've got Ricky from Maryland. So excited to have you guys today and get to actually see you face to face. It's fabulous.
It's been a
Absolutely.
while.
It has been a while. So, what have y'all been up to?
Ricky, go ahead.
Well, not a whole lot has changed since the last time we saw each other, which is a good thing. Selling quite a few houses, playing some golf, spending time with family. And the temperature has finally gotten back in line with fall in Maryland. So sort of getting my mind recalibrated to the Thanksgiving holiday and all the other great stuff coming up. But living good, feeling good.
Yeah. What about you, Jason? How are you doing?
Doing good. I know we're going to talk about the market in a little bit. Market slowed a little bit, but not crazy. Still selling, but I mean, honestly, been selling a little bit, doing some projects around the house. But actually, I just got back from speaking at Remax Midwest and Remax South, giving a presentation about relevant marketing. So that was an honor. It was an honor that they asked me to close. That was a lot of fun. But that's pretty much real estate. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. That is awesome.
Thank
And
you.
hey, John Bellis down there. Always love to hear from you. So, what are you seeing? So, we'll just jump right in and see what are you seeing? Like, if you were just going to give an overview of the market, either one of you, whoever wants to start.
I'll go first. Right. Obviously, things have shifted. They look a lot different. There's new problems to solve and new conversations to have. Our market in general, the Mid-Atlantic region, but specifically Central Maryland, we're somewhat well insulated because it's such a transient community. We have so many people coming and going from here to be close to either Baltimore, DC, or work for the government in some capacity. So it's really at this point micro market by micro market. There are areas where it's still competitive and something's priced really well in a fantastic school district and a desirable county may still get multiple offers on it, and you got to be quick to it. It doesn't look like the multiple offers of 8 months ago, but still competitive. And then we have other sections of our market, just to give you sort of an overview, that have really ground to a halt, that really aren't moving at all. So it's a bit mixed up. It depends on where you're looking, but overall, we're still pretty steady. I wouldn't say that the bottom has fallen out by any means.
So, Ricky, let me ask you a question. Is it based on price? You've got some that are moving fast and some that stopped.
Price for sure. I think it mostly has to do with location. Right now, out of the clients that I service, I'm seeing Baltimore City really take a pause. And I was sharing with you, Jennifer, I consider Federal Hill in Baltimore City to be a what do my parents think about the market type of market. A lot of first-time buyers, a lot of folks who are getting crushed by the interest rate and some of those lower prices. The luxury market in Central Maryland continues to remain strong. So yes, to a certain extent, it is price sensitive. But it really seems to me at this point to be sort of subdivision by subdivision, school district by school district.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Jason? What's happening in Florida?
So our market is a little odd. We tend to follow trends late and accelerate sooner than the rest of the nation. Give an example, back in 2007, the market crashed. This area took quite a bit longer before it crashed and recovered much, much faster. So just kind of get an idea. We're seeing, and I hate using the word shift because I guess a shift can mean anything to anybody, but we're clearly seeing a lot less sales. But what's interesting by our market is the average price point is still going up. We have less sales, price points trickling up. The last month was the smallest I had seen in probably 18 months. It went up by about $1,000 on average. So it trickled up, but went from like 380 to 381. The month before it was 372 to 380. We had a couple of months in there that were spiking, but for the most part, we're seeing a lot less sales because interest rates more so. We're seeing that the investors are not, pulling the trigger on a lot of things, but our different communities that we're seeing, some move faster than others, but I think it's more of a price point like you were talking about. We're seeing somewhere between 350 and 500 is this stagnant. Anything in there, The price versus sale price is stretched out. It's about 97%, maybe a little under 97. They sit on the market longest, probably in upwards of 45 to 65 days on average. If you're above 500, it was the only price point that sold for 102% of list to sale price ratio. And they sold in some cases about 33, 34 days on market. The 3-bedroom under 350, it'll go in a day.
Yeah.
And we're still seeing that. So really it depends on the neighborhood, and it also depends on the price point and what location.
What is your average price point, Jason?
Right now, about 380.
Yeah, ours is 425. And it's interesting. I was telling Ricky earlier, it's always interesting when I have new people on here, points that they bring up that I haven't thought about. So you were talking about month over month. So I had tend to look at like year over year, but you made me look month over month. So we have gone up price point. September, our average sale was 400,000, October 425. But it kind of went back and forth. At May, it was 410, kind of ebb and flow. But year over date, we're up 18% in sales price.
Well, and we're kind of the same thing. Like a year ago, October, and the only reason I know these off the top of my head is because I just did my monthly video. We were at like 437 last year. Now we're at 481. A few months ago, we would see 40 and 45% increases, year over year. And then we would see a month increase by 12, 14, 16%. So yeah, we're kind of seeing the same thing. I tend to run it in month to month just because I see a scale.
Yeah.
But I mean, year over year, we're slowing down, but not, we're still going up.
So is it typical for you it's typical for us to slow down, December, January are typical slow months of the year?
Ever since COVID, I stopped saying the word typical.
Isn't that the damn truth? Amen. You're right about that.
Well, tell me if this is relevant for you guys, because it is up here. So month to month or month over month, we were down 38% in total transactions. The scarcity of inventory, of course, holding prices solid. But this is what we're hearing from quite a few folks, especially out in the county and some of the really desirable areas to live. We're having folks that are not selling because they're sort of boxed in by the interest rate. They might have their $1 million or $1.5 million house out in Clarksville, for instance, and this would be a great time of the year to start preparing that house, get it on the market, make their downsize move. But going from the 2% interest rate that they refied into 2 years ago on their $1.2 million property to downsize into their 600 or 700, the price looks really, really similar. So they're saying, hey, instead of making that downsize move or instead of listing my property right now, I'm going to wait. I'm going to see what happens. We're going to let this play out because I'm no longer in a rush to do that. And of course, what that is then impacting is the person who's selling that townhouse to move up into their house. So it sort of has an effect for everybody. But I'm hearing all over the place that, hey, it's no longer valuable for me to make my downsize move. I'm paying the same amount. Is that something that you guys are seeing at all?
I haven't seen that here, but what I have seen is, people are scared to sell because they're like, what can I buy? Prices are going up so high. Interest rates have gone up. But, Ricky, that led me to a question, and I have not heard this yet, but I'm just curious if any lenders out there, this is a lending question. Could you use, like, obviously an assumable loan typically, right, stays with the house, but your people that are talking about selling their big house and downsizing, could they take that loan amount, 100,000, whatever it is, 200,000 at 2.5% and apply it to the new home?
That's a great question. I think you guys would be better to answer that than myself.
I've never seen that happen before. I've never had anybody even mention it, but
So I guess I know you can do it on a VA. The problem is if you do it with a VA, you have to assume that in certain circumstances, the person who's selling has to release their eligibility, or they carry it with them until that house is sold again. And then also the buyer, you may have done the assumable loan at 280,000. The house is selling now at 475. the bank is going to want you to make up the difference in cash for whatever it is. So, I mean, there's a lot of positives too if you really want the interest rate. But I don't know. I haven't seen a deal where somebody could make it work in the lower price points because they don't have the excess cash.
So, but my question was on Ricky's exact, and I probably messed up. He had a seller, right? That was wanting to downsize, but it financially didn't make sense because interest rates had gone up so high. So my question was, could he apply the mortgage to the house he's in now to the house they wanted to buy at that interest rate? Does that make any sense?
I think it depends. I think it depends on the loan because I know you can't do it with most conventionals. In fact, I don't even know one you can.
That's what I was going to say. My father always talks about assumable mortgages and land installment contracts. He's always got these incredible creative ideas. And myself, over the last couple of years, I always read the paperwork. I've never seen an assumable conventional loan come across. So I don't want to say that they don't exist because I'm sure they're lending products I'm not familiar with. That's a guarantee. Well,
here's the thing is, did somebody get it 3 years ago when they bought and then could make it assumable? I doubt anyone thought that through. Nobody thought that rates were going to be where they're at.
So I think we've just fixed one of the problems.
Make all loans assumable.
Yeah, well, yeah. Of course, the rates are getting higher. Oh, you know what? And maybe, I mean, obviously this is part of why we're talking about this is a way of masterminding, but also state of the market. I just had this conversation with a client today, and I love, listening to a lot of the national coaches we talked through. A buyer's going to buy when the buyer's ready to buy. And we always say, buy the house when the rates go down, refi then. Well, there's a lot of theories right now economically that rates are going to dip in the low sixes by the end of this year. They may dip into the high fours or low fives by quarter 1. Well, on Thursday, the interest rates plummeted by 0.6%. They're down at like 6.6. I haven't looked at what it actually came out today, but just national average. Well, that means that lenders can get it probably less than that, especially if it's a broker. Well, in your situation, if you find the house, buy it. In a year from now, if rates are in the high fours, kind of evaluate what that would have to look like and doesn't make sense. If it's not, if your buyer's not ready to buy, he's not ready to buy, but waiting until the rates drop out, then what he's going to do is end up competing against 12 other people. It's not going to be a $600,000 house. It's going to be $675,000 with all of these
continue to go up.
With multiple offers and everything else. And you got it for a point or two less. I mean, that's an explanation that I've gone through with a lot of people. And then I've had it with every seller I've had today. Buyers are coming back because rates are well, at least today, not in the sixes. They dropped to mid 6 right now, where they were 7.29, whatever they were national average last week. So now you're starting to see some relief. Maybe that's going to help. A lot of these sellers realize your house has been on the market 100 days, but it doesn't matter. Buyers are going to come slowly back in the markets. Now they're starting to see some of that relief.
Yeah. I think for me, I mean, the market is not what it was 6 months ago, but I hated the market 6 months ago. It was miserable for buyers. It was miserable for sellers. It was horrible for agents. I literally became a facilitator of the contract because all I was doing was typing as fast as I could to try to get it in my 30-second window. Where I find now you're actually able to do your job as a real estate professional. You're able to negotiate deals. You're able to go in and look at the property and
There are more enjoyable problems to solve. Also, I was describing it's really easy to figure out what somebody's max offer is, right? You can work backwards with the price and the cash they have and what they qualify for. You can look at a property, you can make recommendations on removing contingencies and trying to help them manage risk. But it's a really simple problem to solve. Every property you go to, you're doing the same equation. Where now it's more methodical, it's more strategic, you can get a little bit more value, and it feels as though the quality of the process is a bit higher when there's more time to think and really try to put something together that's meaningful for both sides. So it's exciting to solve a new set of problems because I agree, it got a little bit old doing the same thing for multiple years straight. And I think it burned pretty much everyone in the industry out. And also, of course, most importantly, our clients, it burned them out as well. It was unsustainable.
Right.
Do you guys both work transactionally, or do you guys work as single agents in your markets?
What does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know what you mean
You
either.
can only represent one side versus the other.
We have both. You can work both.
You can work both.
We have dual agency.
Okay, we call it transactional. We're not allowed to work dual, but people call it the same thing. Ricky?
In Maryland, you can only represent the buyer or the seller.
Okay, so you work single by most. Well, the reason I brought that up is down here we work transactionally, which our duty falls to the best thing for the transaction. We can't do anything at the detriment of another. And every time I get an offer, I'm going to waive inspections and waive this. I cringe because that puts, even as the listing agent, that if you don't do an inspection, we can be held liable because is that the best option for both parties? It's like, oh my God. I like what Ricky just said. It's a little more methodical. We can recommend things and we can still get things done at both parties' advantage.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I didn't realize. So I guess that's by state.
Yes.
I guess I didn't realize.
Yeah. We do have dual agency, but in the event that I'm representing the seller and an agent within our brokerage brings the buyer, then the broker becomes the dual agent and we act on behalf of the broker, still representing our side. But no, you cannot represent both. I would honestly be nervous. I mean, I'm sure you guys have the experience because that's how your market is, but it would be really tough to represent both sides here. For us, it's I don't want to say it's versus each other. It's not. It's a cooperative effort, but you're there to only represent your client's interests and you owe your client confidentiality. And there's all these different things in representing one side that you really couldn't do if you were representing both up here. But that's very interesting to hear.
Yeah, I don't really prefer to do it. It makes it a lot more complicated. But I did have one like 2 years ago, and I represented the seller, and they had 11 offers on it. So we had called for final and best by Friday at 5, and I did have a buyer that put in an offer. So the seller came and sat with me, and we went through every single offer. We laid them all out. We made a spreadsheet. We took all the variables, right? How much money down, how much due diligence, closing time, all this. We wrote out, made a spreadsheet. And at the end, my offer was not the highest, but it was the most favorable.
Okay.
But I told her, I was like, there are going to be a lot of complaints because the general public is going to see that I represented both sides. Because then, and I was like, so I need to make sure you fully understand everything. And she was like, yes, I do. And I made her write, like, she put a big X and wrote rejected and a date and time in her initials on all of them so that I could show that I presented all of them at the same time. But honestly, a real estate agent did write a complaint, and the real estate commission did call the seller to make sure the seller fully understood. And she said, absolutely. She said, I was in Jennifer's office for almost 5 hours. We're here till 10 o'clock at night.
Wow.
She was like, I knew everything about everything. She's like, I fully understand. She did a great job, but it is hard if you have both sides of it.
I usually tell them that when we get them all, first off, when I go multiple offers, I don't even look at the offers as they come in. So if I bring a buyer, I give him the same information that I would, not knowing what other people are writing. And I'm not influenced, or I could be potentially influenced. And then on top of it, when I do the net sheet and I present all the offers, I present them blind. Yeah. So they don't see any differences between. I present them blind.
Blind.
So you can't even see that who wrote it. You don't know which agents. You don't know which agency. So you can't, that won't influence your decision. And they actually appreciate that because, I mean, if I'm representing them as the seller, would they not want me to also bring the buyer and it'd be an easier transaction for them? I don't want that to be so that's just my little.
No, that's good.
Smart.
It's nerve-wracking still. And even though we do it all the time, it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah. It is smart, but at the end of the day, you do want what's best for your client, whether that be the seller or buyer. And when you represent both, it is hard to do that. Right.
I don't know, totally off the topic. So how much have your guys' sales dropped?
So we're actually year to date exactly where we were last year. So we will close. We did 87 million last year for my team, and we will close. I think we'll close at 89 million this year. So almost Exactly. Interestingly enough, a couple of the agents on my team are not doing as well as they did last year, and then a handful are doing way better than they did last year. So
And
my
what's the
sales
market showing as far as number of sales from last year to this year?
number of sales not quite as many because obviously prices have gone up, so that's been some of that change. But we sold 217 homes last year. We're at 197 this year, and I think we've got 26 more under contract. So I still think, it'll be pretty close.
Yeah,
What about you?
Pretty much. I'm ahead of where I am last year. This will be embarrassing to say, but I don't know how many I've sold this year. I don't keep track of it throughout the year. I know my volume is ahead because I'm way ahead in GCI. I made Titan at the beginning of October, and
congratulations.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you were going to make it. I was going to reach out and ask you.
No, I appreciate that. So I keep an eye on that just because it's interesting and it's important to me through the RE/MAX network. But overall, I know I'm ahead of where I was last year. I think on volume, I'm definitely ahead. On transactions, I'm probably down a bit. But here in the next week or two, I need to get back and sort of recalibrate the goals and all that. But I won't use this session to explain this, but I went through a bit of a mentality shift with all of that this year. And the summary of it is that I was getting really hung up on units and volume and almost overanalyzing it, and taking a step back to just remember what I'm here to do, which is provide great representation to my clients. That was a huge, that was important for me this year. But anyway, yeah, I'm embarrassed to say I do not know where I fall at the moment.
So Ricky, how many years have you been in real estate? And I'm sorry that I already knew that.
No, it's all good. So I joined RE/MAX on December 3rd, 2017. I had moved back to Maryland from Colorado. I spent 4 years working for Vail Resorts and their property management department. So I wasn't selling real estate, but I was managing associations and managing rentals and dealing with it to a certain extent. But I started with RE/MAX in December of 17. I did 1 year as their digital marketing guy. They're like, hey, look, the young guy, I'm sure he knows Facebook. And then I got my license in October of 2018, October 10th, 2018. So I just renewed it for the second time, just 4 years.
Okay, that's awesome. Congratulations. You're doing
awesome.
Thank
you. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
just getting lucky, just getting lucky.
Yeah, you're not lucky. Your parents are
lucky.
Agents too. Isn't that right, Ricky?
My dad, yeah, he's been involved in the industry. He's owned a couple of different real estate companies, and he actually works with me at this point. So he got his license, show property, help me out with stuff like that. My grandfather as well. He's been doing this in Central Maryland since 1984. So I had the best mentors in the game for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Deep rooted. What about you, Jason? You've been in it for several years, right?
7 years actually.
7.
Yeah, I really haven't been in it that long.
No, 7 years is awesome though. Have you always been, are you from Florida?
No, I came here. Florida? I came here with the military. I retired out of the military. I got my master's degree, thought I'd get into real estate. And thank you. I was bored on the way out the door and just wanted to learn something, got my license just to keep me busy. And I had no intentions of ever doing this. And my broker gave me an opportunity and here I am 7 years later.
Rocking it out. You're doing awesome.
Yeah.
So what about your numbers? Where are your numbers, Jason, this year compared to last?
Well, when I was preparing for this, the reason I even was curious, which I thought through, in our network, our market for number of sales from last year to this year, same time period, was down 20%. We sold over 1,000 homes in our market. Last month, we sold 800. I exceeded where I was last year in September.
Okay.
So I'll do a little bit more than I did last year, which is great. What I think the reason I even say that is, in our network, which is amazing, we're seeing agents drop off the map, we're seeing sales drop off the map, and yet we're still out there selling the world. So I thought that was interesting when I saw the stats. I go, how's the market down this much? I'm not down this much. So
I think it's also a mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And so I think some people are like, can listen to the media, and the media is very informative. It can be very negative, but it takes real estate as like a blanket approach. Like, this is what we're seeing globally. And and I have found through my Monday videos is super interesting. Every single Monday, I learn something new from each of the agents because it's not globally. Like all of us are seeing differences based on our region.
Well, and clearly I won't hit the goals I had set out, which I mean, it's kind of like I shot for Pluto, I hit Saturn. Did I really fail? But
You're failing forward. That's good.
And I look at Ricky and I'm so proud that you made your goals and stuff. Cause we talked about it when I sent you that referral a little bit of where you were going to be. So I was so glad you made that. But I look at, if the market hadn't slowed the way it did, but I'm still out selling. It's just I'm not selling nearly as much as I thought I would be based on that. So we're seeing a slowdown, but we're not seeing a ridiculous like the market's going anywhere. I mean, we're still selling. I think rates are going to come down and trickle down. I think it's going to unload a little bit. And I think second quarter next year, I probably would have made it up and go, could we have just had this next 4 months last year? I mean, that would have been nice.
Yeah. Well,
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jennifer.
I was going to say it's simple economics. At least here, our supply is it's still down. Our absorption rate is we're at like 1.9 months. So it's still a seller's market. Supply is still down and buyers are still pouring in wanting to buy. So
I think we're just over 2. I think 2.3, I think is what I saw today.
So you're still a seller's market as well.
Yeah. I mean, some markets you can see it up to 3, but I mean, if we're not 3.5, 4, we're not even close to a buyer market or a neutral market even.
Yeah. Because they say a balanced market is right at 4 months ish, right? And I think 6 or more, you're back into a buyer's market. So I think we're a while from there. What were you saying, Jason?
I was going to say, I don't think we're even going to get there probably for the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
What about you? Or 2 things actually that I was sort of told and that I've downloaded that have helped me tremendously. I think all of us in real estate, to be able to do this at a high level, you have to be a little bit competitive. There's a lot of former athletes, former military. It's just a mindset that is required for a job that has so many ups and downs, and where dealing with rejection and facing failure is a regular part of what we do, right? And many of us see that as a positive. But what happens with that mindset also, and I find myself guilty of this, we start to view things in these little microcosms, like what did I do this year? Because I want this award. I want to win this. I want recognition. I want to know that I push myself and beat records and all of that. But one thing that I was told by a really good buddy of mine who runs our company, Yanni, he's like, dude, you got to think of your career in terms of a 20-year or a 30-year chunk. Don't get down because 1 month or 6 months or a year isn't what you thought. It's all part of this overall career that you have. And to go along with that, for me personally, instead of thinking of the results or like how much is active, how much is pending, what's going to happen from this appointment, I break it down to each individual conversation that I have. And I ask myself, am I having the best possible conversation with every single person that I talk to throughout the day, whether it's a client, a prospect, another agent, a lender, whoever it is? Am I presenting myself well? Am I delivering clear, concise information in a good format? And if I continue to have really good conversations time and time and time again, and then I can pull myself back and look at this not in terms of market cycle, but over the course of a career, those 2 strategies I feel like have really helped, because when you do get down or you do feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not selling as much, or, the market's going to fall out on me, we don't necessarily have control over that. And so it's sort of helpful to reroute your mind and focus on your daily efforts as opposed to a lot of these things that unfortunately we can't change. The market's the market.
Yeah, I agree. My market, my whole trajectory in real estate changed when I truly put people first. And I truly don't look at money. Like if somebody needs help on a rental, it's hard for me now because the team's gotten so big and I'm so stretched out, but I try to truly help anybody with whatever they need. And this is come, I do both buyers and sellers. I don't look at price point. I will sell a $5,000 piece of land and I will sell a $5 million home, and I will market it the same, and I will go at it as hard as strategically as I know how. And for me, but I was a former high school teacher, so I love people and I love helping people. And I think this industry, that's what you're there to do, is to help people. And I think that's why So many people have tried to profit from like the iBuyers and things of that nature. We're taking agents out of it, but all of them are in lawsuits. I mean, $60 million, billions of dollars in lawsuits, because at the end of the day, it's you need professionals like us to represent the general public, because they don't buy and sell 200 homes a year.
I'll apologize, Jennifer. I think we turned this into a mastermind, not a state of the market.
I think you're exactly right.
No,
Sorry.
you know what? Quick thing. I'll tell you what. I've made more money because I sold a mobile home, $65,000 at the beginning of my career. I treated him so well because I treated him like family, and I've done it ever since in my career. I'd rather handle the relationship over anything else. I don't care about the money. And he referred to me 7 people. Average price point was $230,000. That was a $1.4 million sale as far as I'm concerned.
I did the exact same thing. It happened a couple of years ago. There was a Hispanic guy called, and he wanted me. It was on a Sunday, and he wanted a $20,000 trailer an hour away from Wilmington. And I was like, okay, people first, help people. Yep. And I drove out there, and he bought it. And after that, he bought 17 homes that year, paid cash, never saw any of them. He would literally text me, and I would write it up. So I think it's all. And then since then, his son and his nephew both bought homes for me this year. So it is a people. It's about helping.
Well, and even in a pivot, of the number of listings I have on the market, and every time I have this conversation with what's going on in the market, what's the rates, what's this, I'm like, look, if we want to leave it on the market, let's leave it on the market. If it doesn't make sense for your family, let's take it off. But I can guarantee you, if somebody's honest and you hire somebody who's honest with you, they're going to trust when you say it's not about the sale. You're going to call me in a year or two to sell your house. You want to take it off now because it makes sense, but don't make a rash decision because you don't understand what's going on in the market. Trust me to tell you what you've told me, this makes the most sense. Or if you want to rent it out, here's what we can do. And I'll run a rental analysis and an investment analysis for you and see what it can do.
That's right.
But trusting that, I think, making sure that we're being honest, and not worrying about the money, worrying about the people.
That's
we do. I guarantee every one of us do it. I guarantee everyone else making the comments here has done the same thing and has the same mindset, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's a cool thing. I see the people popping up. They seem to be all Remax folks, but in my time with Remax, I feel like the whole mindset that everyone that I've met carries is so positive. It's so client centric, and that's sort of the vibe that we share back and forth. So in my opinion, as someone with less experience, newer to the industry, I feel really good about having the support of the Remax network behind me as we embrace a shifting and changing market. I think just having folks like yourself, and really you think about all these friends we have all over the country, everybody is approaching this with a positive mindset for the most part, or at least that's what they're showing, right? And that's okay too. But I think there's just so much great support that we have out there. And I think that is really what connects us. The real desire to take great care of these buyers and sellers. It's a sort of an addiction or a passion for getting that great feedback and delivering that level of service.
100%.
We'll go and drink and cry in private. We'll drink and laugh in public. There you go.
Absolutely.
But overall, I mean, our sales are good and we're doing great and people are still buying and selling. And
well, it's like what I asked before. I mean, our sales are way down, yet I personally have sold more this year than I did last as far as total volume. I don't know number of sales. I haven't calculated that yet, but I don't even care. I'll calculate that in December. Who's the next person that wants my help?
That's exactly right. Well, I know a good person to call in Pensacola, Florida.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Absolutely. And Ricky in Maryland. So Ricky, how far from Baltimore are you? Where are you?
So I'm directly in the center of Maryland. My office is Howard County. So we're about 15 minutes into Baltimore City, about 30 down to DC. Maryland's an interesting market because most of us that operate at a high level cover a lot of the state. And what they did in Maryland, I don't know if this is the same in other places, but there's one MLS that covers the entire state at this point. And it wasn't always like that. So in recent years, you've seen, for instance, one of my business partners, he has a house in Ocean City. It's about 3 hours away from where we are, but he does a lot of business down there now because without having multiple MLS subscriptions, he can access those listings. And there's lots of people from where we live that go down there. So we pretty much cover the whole state, but I'm directly in the center of Maryland, Howard County, Carroll County, Montgomery County, sort of that chunk.
Well, fabulous.
Yep.
I always refer the two of y'all. Y'all are wonderful. Do you have any kind of closing remarks?
I could do this all day with you guys. So, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
I already got a drink. It's beer 30. So,
You're good. I'm sticking with water, but dang, I should go look in the refrigerator here at the office to see what we have.
Yeah, no, my thought is of course get back to the people like you guys have both said tonight. It's always been about taking great care of people and focusing on that. I think it's a huge positive market movement, creates opportunity. And at the end of the day, I always remind my folks, residential real estate is very rarely bought or sold opportunistically. Yes, maybe you bought your second house at a 2% interest rate just because you could, but more of the transactions than not are going to happen year over year because they're motivated by life events. And if we can all remember that and take some of this slower period to refine systems and remind ourselves why we're so lucky and grateful to be able to do this and why we love it, I guarantee that everybody is going to come out strong in the first quarter of 2023 and we'll continue to do our thing and dominate.
Ricky, I think that was very well spoken. Very well said, my man.
I think the last thing I'll say is, you know, forget what's going on in the news. Rates are too high. Rates are falling. The world's falling apart. Markets shift and all these catchphrase terms. When you're ready to do something, ask the professional and find out what's really going on in a calm and see what you can do. Because houses are still selling. We're all sitting here still selling real estate and selling a lot of it. So when you're ready to do something, pick up the phone and call the professional you trust, whether it's one of us or somebody else, but call a professional you know is going to give you good information. Don't listen to the media. They're pulling out the headlines that sound good. But most of the time we can look at the back side, like I said, interest rates, what really happened last week, and trickle down what they may do this week and next and see trends and evaluate it because we work in the industry. So don't trust the person who's trying to sell a book on, you know, some newscast just because it sounds good in the catchy phrase and they can freak out and sell a few more. Ask the professional, see what works best for you, and then go with what you know and what you can afford. And
enjoy yourself while you do it.
That's exactly right. Well, I love the two of y'all. I'm going to end the broadcast, but I want y'all to stay on so I can talk to you in a minute.
Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for having us. And I hope there was some good
Thanks
value.
for asking, Jennifer. You're a doll.
Well, I thought it was fabulous, and I learned a lot from you guys. So thank you. And we have one more person, Jenna. Hey, Jenna.
My friend.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes. And did y'all see
what I thought was cool about Jenna? I learned from her last time we were together out in California here that she takes every single listing or showing phone call directly. So like here, you can schedule right through showing time. But if you want to show one of Jenna's properties, you've got to call her so she can give you the rundown on her listing. And I took that, I noted it, I have it here on a piece of paper, and I said, Jenna, you are amazing for doing that. So holding down the Midwest for us.
There you go. Awesome. So thanks to everybody. There's somebody else that
Facts.
Awesome. Well, it was always good seeing you. And thanks to all of our friends that chiming in. We appreciate all the feedback and everybody watching, and love you guys. And I'll talk to you guys in just a second.
Boom.